Welcome to Centre Court with thanks to OMF. Kick back and relax with an adjustable bed from Australian designed and owned OMF. Watch sport your way. And Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria. I'm Bianca Chatfield and Maddie Brown is alongside me for another episode of Centre Court. Maddie, things are getting exciting now. We're not far away from finals.
Finally. We've had a lot of talk, a lot of stuff's been happening off the court. Let's bring it back on the court and let's get excited because, yes, only a couple more rounds and finals are nearly here.
Well, let's get into the OMF overview. Watch sport your way. This is what happened in round 10 across the court. It was a big result to start off with for the Adelaide Thunderbirds. They beat the Giants by 15. And then the close one on the sunny coast, the Vixens by 2 in the end over the Sunshine Coast Lightning. The Mavericks had a big win in Melbourne. They beat the Firebirds by 12. And then the West Coast Fever, pretty much Danielle Fowler-Nemar did it all on her own, scoring 76 just on her own. They had a 7-point win over the New South Wales Swifts. And here is the ladder as well. Of course, the jostling is happening everywhere, but we focus our attention to the top. The Vixens now sit out on top. And then, of course, followed by the Fever and the Thunderbirds and the Lightning. I'm pretty sure that's the top four, but certainly that fourth position could change.
Put out mathematically that anyone can still make it be, but even this weekend, all top four teams playing the bottom four teams. We obviously played a result, so at the end of the day, I think that's the top four. It'll just depend on maybe those top three where they finally finish.
Well, one player from one of those top three clubs is one of our favourites, and that is Georgie Horjus from the Adelaide Thunderbirds. She is joining us now from Adelaide. Georgie, firstly, thanks for joining us, and we must say a big congratulations to you because it's been a pretty big year so far.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been really exciting couple of weeks and year so far.
Now, I want to talk to you about some of the fun things that have been happening off the court. I mean, your clubs, touch wood, not so much drama as some of the other clubs, but you've been doing some fun things going into training. We've got some photos of you all arriving at training yesterday. Can you talk us through what was happening here?
Yeah, we thought we'd spice it up a bit and we dressed up sort of like the American footballers and basketballers. They all get fancy arriving to games. So I think we've done a good job this year to try and lighten things up and have a bit of fun as well as the hard training sessions.
Was there a best dressed or did you just...
I don't know. We didn't pick one, but I reckon Shez did a pretty good job.
And did you have some paparazzi just hide out the front there taking some snaps as you walked on in?
Yeah, the media team were quick to get out there when we walked in.
Now, let's go back onto the court where you are so dominant, obviously, for the Thunderbirds. How have you seen your season? Because every single week we continue to say, she'll be in wing attack, she's in goal attack. You're absolutely the playmaker in that attack. And how have you found your role maybe evolve over this season?
I'm having lots of fun. I sort of didn't know at the start of the season whether I'd be in goal attack or wing attack, but been finding myself more starting at wing attack and I'm absolutely loving it. And to get to play with some new faces this year has been really exciting. Romelda and then Lauren and Shez across the line has been awesome. So definitely learned a lot of new things from them this year.
And we know, shooters have that extra training load of going to the post usually half an hour before training or after training sessions. Have you been doing that just as much as well as what, obviously as a wing attack, you can kind of sit back and not have to worry about that part of it. Do you have to do everything out there now?
Yeah, definitely. Through all pre-season and now definitely do all the shooting sessions with the shooters. Like to keep that nice and ready to go for whenever I have to go into goals.
Georgie, I want to ask you how you found out from obviously Stacey Marinkovic. Where were you? Who'd you call first? We've been in that position when you get that first phone call to say that you're in your first Diamond squad. Yeah, take us to that moment. Who did you call first and ultimately, how did you feel?
Yeah, it was really cool. I was home alone actually doing some uni and I got a call from a known number. So I answered it and then, it was Stacey. I was pretty speechless, so I didn't say much. I rang my mum and dad and I FaceTimed them, which I don't normally FaceTime them, so they were probably a bit sus, but they were over the moon and my nana and papa as well, they were brothers. Everyone was really happy for me.
And we hear Stacey Marinkovic was at training this week. I know she goes around and visits all the teams. What did she say? And, what was she doing at training? Was she taking some part of the session for you guys yesterday?
Yeah, she took the opening drill, which was pretty cool, to get a bit of a different start to the training, which was good. And she worked with the attackers for a little bit. So, we learned a fair bit in a short amount of time. So I'm really excited to see what I can learn in the Diamonds environment as well.
Georgie, this week you have the Mavs. There's 3 players returning home. Obviously, the first time they'll be back in Adelaide. They know a lot about you, but you also know a lot about them. They just have come off some really good form. Do you find this a bit of a danger game potentially?
I think we'll go into it like we have every other game. We'll just do our analysis. We'll get ready for anything on the weekend. We'll have a game plan, and hopefully we can stick to that because, anyone can beat anyone this year. It's really close comp. So, we'll be ready.
I want to ask you about one player who has absolutely been dominant for your side. That is Latanya Wilson. And I think as a wing defence, when she's in that position, a lot of her work rate and workload probably just gets looked over because she's doing a phenomenal amount. You have to probably train against her at training all of the time. Do you think that, or is it just us, like her game has gone to another level this year?
Yeah, she's unreal. You forget how young she is, like only 22, 23. So she's an amazing player. And I think, when she first came to T-Bird, she was this shy little girl that sort of, was very skillful. But I think having Kathy as her coach has come so far, and she is, one of the best players in the world now. And to get to train against her each week is, I think I'm pretty lucky. I'm lucky that she's on my team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Georgie, you spoke of Kathy Fallow. She was my state coach.
Me too.
And I will never forget the gauntlet drill that she used to run. I used to hate it. Is she still pulling it out at training? Are you still hating it every time? It's where there's one person at the top, one person at the end, 2 people in the middle, and if you fight hard enough, then you don't have to have it. You know exactly the drill I'm talking about. Yeah. The worst in history, hardest.
Yes, I agree with that. She comes up some pretty good drills that are very tiring.
Yes.
Now, we know you're an experienced campaigner when it comes to finals, like with the efforts last year and winning the premiership. How much do you focus on the ladder positions of everybody else at the moment, and how much do you focus on just what you need to do?
I think, just focusing on what we need to do, focus on each game at a time. We want to win the rest of the game so we can sort of be in the best spots possible. But I think, we're just focusing on one game at a time.
Just the old sporting cliche. I love it. No question, really. That's what the answer I was always going to get back. But also, the advantage for the Adelaide Thunderbirds is you don't even have to fight to have the grand final in Adelaide. That's already been resolved. You had to come to Melbourne and do it the hard way last year. So we are all hoping that the Adelaide Thunderbirds get to have a home grand final this year. It would be pretty exciting for you and all of the fans, because the Thunderbirds fans sure get behind your team. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Georgie, and we wish you all the best for the remaining games and finals to come.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was the OMF overview. Kick back and relax with an adjustable bed from Australian designer known OMF. Watch sport your way. Well, it's time for the good oil. Thanks to Cobram Estate Australia Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Joining us for the first time this season is SEN Netball commentator Kell Harrison, all the way from Brisbane. Welcome, Kell. Thanks for joining us. What's the good oil up there in Brisbane?
Well, we can't ignore the biggest news that Beck Bully has departed the Queensland Firebirds, and then 4 days later, assistant coach Lauren Brown has also departed, leaving a huge gap for the Queensland Firebirds.
Oh, massive gap, isn't it? And Lauren North said on the weekend that she actually had handed her resignation in on Saturday before the game even happened on Sunday.
Yeah, so I think that probably wasn't known widely in the community. I guess that's just to keep things under wraps to allow the game to go ahead and focus on that game. But if we look at the timeline, I guess Thursday, Netball Queensland had issued a media release announcing that Beck Bully had departed ways, that it was mutual, and that it was probably the best timing for Beck and her family. Then on Friday, it was announced that Lauren Brown, or everybody knows Lauren Nurse, has come in as caretaker coach for the Mavs game. She's a well-decorated player herself, like Diamonds player, had won, World Cup silver at Com Games, that kind of thing, and also captained the Firebirds to a premiership way back in 2011. But yes, we saw the emotional, I think you had a chat with her before the game, the emotional chat with her, saying how they were focusing on that game, and also echoed by Kim Ravalian and saying that there'd been no player involvement and that a season review is ongoing, which is a usual thing to happen within a franchise. The season reviews happen all the time.
So your understanding, Kell, is no player involvement, but there's been whispers of the Players Association getting involved and not. How is the playing group feeling now, obviously with the interim coach having been announced?
Yeah, so with Katie Walker coming in, she is well known to the playing group. She is within the high performance program there at Netball Queensland, currently the assistant coach at the Firebirds Futures. So I feel that that will be a positive note to end the season on, as much as the season isn't going as well as the Firebirds would hope. I think putting someone in for the remainder of the season, such as Katie, she's had experience at Suncorp Super level as assistant coach in 2020 and 2021, so she understands, what's required there to come in. So I think it's a positive move by Netball Queensland. So.
And in terms of what happens next, so obviously the season ending, you would imagine, in round 14 for the Firebirds, then recruitment becomes a big thing, and being able to find your team for 2025, but also now find a coach for 2025. Do you think it'll come down to finding an experienced coach? Is that what you're hearing, rather than a coach that potentially hasn't had the experience at the Super Netball level?
Yes, well, the position has been advertised, so if anybody out there is up for it. But when you look at the requirements from Netball Queensland is that you must have a high performance accreditation or elite working towards high performance, and that comes from the member organisation themselves. That's not a Netball Australia directive. It's entirely up to each state what they require. Also, you must have 5 years in an elite or semi-professional environment. Now, that becomes tricky because if we're talking about the state league level and getting that experience, it's finding someone that meets all of those qualifications. And, of course, there's a few names, I guess, being thrown around in socials that people would like to see.
Oh, who's that? Give us some names.
Yeah, so Lisa Alexander was put in the mix there, as well as, Vicky Wilson. She could be possible, one to tap on the shoulder there. Jen Brazel. Now, Jen Brazel, she's just celebrated her 100th game nationally in assistant role. Would it be great to see her step up into a head coach role?
Very interesting.
I also did see Norma Plummer courtside, which I thought was interesting at a Mavs game.
Yes.
Eyes are all on it, Kell. There's eyes everywhere.
Everybody's focused on it, but there has been a big focus on accreditation and who possibly, if it were to come from Queensland, who would actually hold that qualification. And currently there's around 9 to 10 people that hold high performance. But if we think about that, we think Rosalie Jenke would hold that because once you receive it, it's there for life. You would think also Belinda Reynolds, now being in the Sunshine State, would hold one of those. So there's not really many people in Queensland with that accreditation that we understand. So it's interesting times for sure.
Yes, we will certainly keep an eye on that. We appreciate you joining us, Kell, on Centre Court. And that was the good oil, thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria. All right, it's now time to get to Maddie's Minute. What have you been mulling over this week?
I've been crunching some numbers, B. I've been crunching some numbers. I mean, I want to know, is the Super Shop as powerful as we talk or think it is?
Okay.
Because I, for the last couple of weeks, have been talking about you gotta win the 1 point, you got to win the first 10 minutes, and now I have the stats to back my claim and go, you know what, you actually do. So the top 4 teams are obviously Vixens, Thunderbirds, Fever and Lightning, not in that order, but they own the 1 point. They own 2/3 of the quarter, 66%, 1 point. They absolutely own it. They've got the most volume out of all of them. The teams that actually have the most volume for this Super Shot are Giants and Swifts that are down the bottom.
Yes.
Vixens are the only team in the top 4 that are actually using the super shot a lot. We even saw on the weekend 1 super shot for the Fever and they won the game. 18 from the Swifts and they still lost by 7.
That is ridiculous in itself, isn't it?
So exactly. So yes, the super shot is important, and when you utilise it in close moments, it can count. But if you can own the first 10 minutes, that 1-point netball, that traditional style of play, at the moment, the stats are saying that you will sit in the top 4 and you look likely to obviously take out premiers for 2024.
Now, can you just reveal, I know the Maddie minute finished, but can you just reveal all your calculations? Like, Maddie loves her stats.
I love my stats.
She does
you can
research.
see all my stuff. Yeah.
It's all there. And do you know what? In terms of the Vixens, we've not seen them use the super shot a lot in the past.
No.
And, we've heard Sophie Garvin even come out and say she knew that was a big part of her season this year, was to take the pressure off Kira Austin being the only one that can shoot them if they need it. So there's been a lot of tactics and strategy around the super shot.
Yes.
But how important is that traditional style of netball that everyone loves?
And the teams that have the really strong 2-point shooters, they rely too much on it and aren't in the contest in 2/3 of the quarter and then putting too much pressure. And then that's when their accuracy starts to go anyway. But Vixens are at the top because they are consistent across the board in defence, attack, 1s, 2s, the lot.
Oh, certainly keep an eye on that as we get to the last half of the season. Let's get into our round 11 preview, and we'll start by looking at the fixture. Here's the games coming up. It starts with the Firebirds and the Fever. That you think that would be a tough one for the Firebirds. The Thunderbirds and the Mavericks, the Vixens and the Swifts, and then the Lightning hosting the Giants. Now we're going to focus on the Thunderbirds and the Mavericks. This game first. How's this one going to play out, Mads?
Well, I mean, excited to see Mavs get another win at home. It was their last one in Melbourne in front of their Melbourne crowd. They do have another home game, but it's obviously down in Tassie. A massive ask for them to go over against the Thunderbirds. But Nankivell, Cardwell and Tracy Neville obviously know their team very well. Have probably got the playbook still in the back of their pocket. But a standout performance from the weekend from the Mavs was Gabby Sinclair.
Yes.
And I called it, any basketballers out there, she had the triple-double. So she had doubles, she had 12 out of 12 in the 1, she had 7 out of 7 or 14 in the 2. She had 17 centre pass receives, and she even had, 12 goal assists as well. So she will be a huge reason that if they can put up that amount of volume against a Thunderbirds defence that absolutely smother most attack lines, and we've seen them dish out lower scores for half of the competition this year because of their defence. She's a massive key to that attack, Gabby. But if Cardwell's back, where does she fit? Who knows?
That's an interesting question, Maddie, because if Cardwell is back, and I really hope she is back, do you then use Jock and Cardwell in that shooter position and keep Gabby out at goal attack?
Potentially, until she maybe does tire, and then you'd bring obviously maybe Cardwell out to goal attack. You've got more movement, but Mavs have shown when they actually stay with the starting 7 and they have that continuity and consistency, it's when they've won games.
Ooh, okay, keep an eye on that one. And let's take a look at the Vixens and the Swifts. This game is happening in Melbourne, of course. Huge traditional rivalry. It is for the Sergeant McInnes Cup this game, but the Vixens obviously sitting top of the ladder at the moment. As Maddie said before, dominant across attack and defence. The way they play, we say it a lot, their clinical way of playing, but it is that they can continue that pressure that they put on defensively for the whole 4 quarters, and it's every single player on that court that's adding to the defensive pressure. I think the Thunderbirds do that as well, very similar. The Swifts, without Sam Wallace-Joseph, I think this is the last week that we talk about that, to be honest, because now it's finished, it's done, it's gone. They can move on and they can figure out what they're going to do down their shooting end, because as we said before, 18 super shots to keep them in the game against the Fever. Can they do that again? Possibly. But if they're relying on that, it's going to be a tough game out for the Swifts. But they play very similar, the Vixens and the Swifts together. I don't expect this one to be an easy one at all for the Vixens. If anything, I think they'll be very cautious about what the Swifts are going to do, especially now Maddie Proud's got a game under her belt.
Yeah, Sergeant McInnes Cup is still up for grabs. So, it's a tough cup that you want in your trophy cabinet.
Well, it's time for Social Scoop this week, and we have a question from Kira Johnson. Thank you for sending it in. Kira asks, Janelle Fowler-Nemar, the most dominant goal shooter we have ever seen within the Suncorp Super Netball, yes or no?
Oh, it's a standout, yes, absolutely. She's a 5-time league MVP. I mean, her volume on the weekend, the goal attack did had 2 shots.
Yeah.
That was absolutely it. So, you know, she's dominant. She's actually this year even shown that she has got that capability in the 2-point where we used to say,
I think she shot like 14 super shots already.
Yeah, where we thought she wouldn't be able to add that to kind of her repertoire and toolkit. But, yeah, I mean, she literally won the game on her own.
Yes.
She does need to get the ball. I'll say the
she does need to get the ball, that's right. But the interesting part of that for me is that when the other teams, opposition teams, cut down the supply to Fallon Emmard or cut off the goal attack in that process, whether it's Beckford or when it was Teague Neal or Wilkinson, you know, they're showing now the fever that they don't need the goal attack to actually shoot. And that's probably been the first half of the season where they've made sure there's been kind of a little bit of load going through the goal attack. Well, now they're saying, you know what, Fallon Emmard can do it on her own. We've just got to get her the ball.
But it did show the week before against the Thunderbirds when they obviously lost and considerable loss as well. They do need multiple options because if they can shut down Fallon Emmard, then where else are they getting it from?
But yes, definitely the most phenomenal shooter I think we've seen in Suncorp Super Netball. Now, that is our social script. So if you have any questions that you want to ask us, anything you want to send through, any interesting things that you've noticed over the weekend, make sure you send it through our socials at SEN Netball and SEN Netball on Facebook as well. Well, that's Centre Court for another week. Thanks, Maddie, and thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you to OMF, Watch Sport Your Way, and Cobram Estate Australian Extra Virgin Olive Oil. We'll see you again next week.